My name is Leanne, and I'm here today to introduce to you the concept of relationship anarchy, and how I believe it has the potential to enhance and enrich the relationships that you have with yourself and others. I speak as someone who has been openly bisexual and polyamorous since my late teens. I'm diagnosed autistic and ADHD, and I am also what people call a third culture kid. I grew up in Hong Kong before moving to the UK at 16. Just to be clear, even though educating about it is my full-time job, my talk today is not about polyamory, nor am I interested in converting you to it. But my talk does come from the polyamorous community. And so I invite you to open your minds today to see how relationship anarchy could apply to you, even if you don't necessarily want or have multiple committed relationships like I do. But before I get into what relationship anarchy is, let me first set the stage. Within the context of sex and relationships, there are many societal expectations placed on us, especially women. Many of these norms have evolved over time, especially with greater independence for women and advancements in contraception, giving us more sexual freedom. For example, marriage used to be a lifelong commitment. Now it's much more socially acceptable to divorce and remarry. Sex before marriage is no longer as scandalous as it used to be, and it's also increasingly normalized for couples to live together or have children before they get married, if they get married at all. However, while the order in which you can take these steps is far less fixed, and people are taking them later in life than they used to, there is still a broad societal expectation that you should partake in at least some of these steps at some point in your life if you want to reach true happiness and fulfillment. Women especially are expected to eventually settle down. And if a woman says that she doesn't want marriage or children, she would likely be judged, receive dismissive statements about her biological clock, or be told she'll change her mind once she matures and realizes what her life is really meant for. This is despite the fact that marriage and parenthood still expects an unequal amount of emotional labor and sacrifice from women compared to men, even in the West. In the polyamorous community, these traditional steps of commitment are called the relationship escalator. This is coined by journalist Amy Gowan. And it's called the relationship escalator and not the relationship stairs or the relationship ladder, because these expectations are so ingrained in us that they are almost effortless and unconscious. Many people progress from one step to the next because that's what you should do to show love and devotion in a relationship, without questioning why they're doing it. Many people confuse custom and familiarity with safety and happiness. This is where relationship anarchy comes in. Relationship anarchy is a life philosophy where political anarchist principles are applied to human relationships. The word anarchy may conjure up images of lawlessness, disorder, or even violence, and so the idea of conducting relationships in an anarchist way might sound chaotic, but anarchy is not about promoting a total lack of rules at all. It's actually about promoting a lack of assumption of rules, so that we may write our own. Relationship anarchy was coined by Andy Nordgren in 2006 when she wrote 10 tenets in a short instructional manifesto. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to get through all 10 of them today. But the key takeaways are: question the hierarchy of romance over friendship that is so commonly accepted. Customize your connections to what actually works for you and not what you just think you should do. And recognize that love is an abundant resource that does not dilute when it is shared. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get married, shouldn't have children, or shouldn't live with your partners. More importantly, I am very much aware that for many people around the world, they don't have the privilege of choice. But we need to understand and recognize that our environment is shaped by cultures and institutions that uphold certain norms, which heavily influence what we want from our personal relationships, and which dissuade us from relating in ways that might have otherwise suited us better. We all have more options than we think we do. Relationship anarchy doesn't have a specific structure or look. It's a lens to examine how we seek and maintain connection outside of the normative systems we live under. So imagine a world where marriage, monogamy, and commitment are not synonymous terms. What if we stepped off the relationship escalator and were able to pick and choose the steps we wanted, or even reject them entirely without facing moral or social consequences? What if we challenged the value and purpose of marriage and asked why so many feel we need it to feel secure and valued in a relationship? or whether marriage is still realistic as we live longer lives and have more opportunities to grow and change in the modern age. What if we asked ourselves whether monogamy is what we really want, or why romantic love requires exclusivity to be real, while platonic love does not? And what if we questioned why we place romantic love on a pedestal and imagined living a life where romance was not the central goal, or a goal at all? What if we considered what it might look like to, for example, get married to a platonic best friend instead of a romantic partner, or to raise children in a community instead of in a nuclear family model? Fundamentally, is what you are currently doing what really makes you happy? My core message is that I want everyone in this room to reflect on what love or a committed relationship looks like to you, and to decide your personal definition of those terms. I encourage you not only to figure out what you want, but also question why you want those things, who taught you to want those things, and how you might make changes to express your authentic values. To me, a committed relationship involves trusting someone and communicating with them consistently, making promises and following through on them, and being invested in their emotional fulfillment and spiritual growth. I can demonstrate this commitment, not just to my sexual and romantic partners, but also my friends. And my definition does not require monogamy, nor does it need me to sign anything to affirm how I feel. Your definition might be different, and I hope that it is one that you came to through conscious introspection, and not one that is purely motivated by duty and obligation. At its core, relationship anarchy should not be a radical concept. I wish we lived in a world where the sex and relationships we engaged in were not governed, incentivized, or punished by the state, where friendship was seen as just as valuable as romantic love, and where a woman could choose to live a single, independent life without being pitied or seen as a failure. I hope that this radicalizes you, even in a small way, to take a closer look at the way you relate to others and design your own unique approach to connection. I hope that one day these sexual and romantic freedoms will be available to everyone. But in the meantime, as the saying goes, the revolution begins with you. Thank you.